sad thing of it was, there was a part of me when that happened was that I was surprised I didn't scream or do any of that. I was actually quite calm. And I remember thinking, I can't believe you actually did it. But there was nobody else around except myself. My younger son was only 14 at the time, so I didn't want him to see anything. So I asked him to go in and get my neighbour, Stephen, who was a guard. And it transpired, it felt like Stephen wasn't coming quick enough. And just strange things happened. When my father had died, because we had young children living next door, so I didn't want them frightened of death. So we had, when my dad died, a Harry party.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I went out to get Stephen to come in and help me with Brian, one of the little children came up, maybe about 3.
Yeah.
And he said to me, somebody else dead in your house, Mary.
He said what?
Somebody else. Is there somebody else dead in your house, Mary?
Really?
And I couldn't answer him.
Yeah.
And so I called Steve. I said to Stephen, I need you now. So Stephen came up, and I didn't want anybody else to see Brian as I had found him.
Yeah.
So then you had the guards, the ambulance, all that sort of thing. And she then contacted my husband and my 2 daughters. And I remember only a few years ago, my daughters saying that when they went in the car, they didn't know what had happened, but when they turned in to go into our road, all they could see were ambulances, guards, neighbours, this whole thing in front of them. And I'm told that when my daughter the car was still going when she was trying to get out of it, that she was so stressed, so they didn't know what had happened. And then, the guards tried to stop them coming in, so I had to go down and let them come up and things like that. But in some ways, I think it was harder for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the fact that they weren't in the house and stuff like that. But funny, my younger son says to me, "You never tell me what happened." I just assumed I had told him, but he didn't know straight away what happened. Then my husband came home, see, with all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then a doctor had to come to declare him dead, stuff like that. And
how does it affect people afterwards? How does it?
First and foremost, the shock is just, I can't put into words what it feels like. Total disbelief. I think in a way, probably it's a good thing our bodies go into shock, because I don't think we'd be able to actually face up to it. We all dealt with it differently. Like I said, I had 3 other children, 2 girls that were older, and as I said, Michael was only 14, and my husband, and it was, I always remember thinking I felt like as if part of me had died. And that's true, because they say your heart breaks.
Yeah.
My heart broke.
Gosh.
Sorry. So, and the other things about everything was that I felt a massive responsibility for. He was so well known, so I felt this responsibility for all the other kids. And he was buried on the day of the World Suicide Day, which is the 10th of September. And it happened to be the day that the junior cert results came out. The weather was atrocious, and I felt like when the coffin was being put into the ground and stuff, I think he was making a laugh, and just in the sense the rain, I've never seen rain like it. I felt that the whole time I kept trying to talk to the young people as much as I could, because my biggest fear was what if one of them tried to do this. So I went on and within kind of 2 months, 2-3 months, I had started doing this type of work.
Yeah.
SOSAD. It affected us all differently. my husband, unfortunately, he took to drink, and he spent probably most weekends trying to kill himself. And we went through that for about a year, and I actually left my husband for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't cope.
Yeah.
And it was probably the best thing I ever did in those circumstances. But he did get his act together. He's involved with SOSAD now. But unfortunately, sometimes that's what people do. And everybody goes on their own journeys regards grief.
Yeah.
Also within the community itself, his friends and the community that you live in, it affects so many people. And I think because Brian was one of those first that people knew it was suicide, and that we were open about it and stuff like that, it just affects people. Parents start worrying more. There's always the worry too that somebody else within that circle or community will take this as the answer. I do remember what was it, after the end of the Mass, after communion, a kind of reflection, and my thing was to say to the kids, this is not the answer. Because I firmly believe that had he given life a chance, that his life could have been really, really good. Stay.